Hey y'all, it's Nim or Nimicry if you're feeling professional, and welcome to the YouTube video. Now today, we're going to be talking about Shadowlands. We're going to talk about what the title of the video is, Shadowlands, one reset in. So if you're watching this video right now, as it releases, on the day it releases, one, thank you. And two, more importantly, the information may change as development occurs. But these are my thoughts after basically a full reset and then a little bit more time until the next reset. Castle Nathria is coming out this week, and I'm looking real forward to it. So without further ado, let's get into it. It makes sense to start, as with most things, at the beginning. The actual launch. Okay, so launch day came, and I was waiting. We had a global harmonized launch. I sat in Ogrimmar an hour early. I was there flying on my mount, laughing at those who couldn't get in. Seriously, there were a lot of people who were able to get in, but some people had problems. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry you couldn't play on launch day, or you had a bad launch day experience. I want everybody to have a good launch day experience. I love World of Warcraft. It's my favorite game. And I sat there, flying on my mount, waiting as the clock tick, tick, tick. And finally, I was blessed with new quest content. I was blessed, able to leave BFA and enter the Maw, which has its own problems, but at least it wasn't BFA. And then I got onto the Shadowlands and Oribos, and it wasn't so bad. In fact, hell, this was the first time I was able to stream a launch. And speaking of streams, I stream on Twitch Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the link in the down there part. But I didn't have any disconnects the entire time. Comparing that to Warlords of Draenor, where you would get disconnected and locked out for trying to create your garrison at your garrison, this launch was fantastic. Never forget, they gave us a week of free playtime in Warlords of Draenor to apologize for the launch. On to the next part, the leveling. Now, the leveling in Shadowlands did something new, at least in reference to World of Warcraft. Instead of each zone being this type of encapsulated story that has a few threads to lead you to the next zone, it was one long plot, one long narrative. You started in Bastion, then you went to Maldraxxus, then you went to Ardenweald, then you went to Revendreth. And as for the actual leveling experience, it wasn't the toughest 10 levels I've ever had to grind out. The mob density in Revendreth, at least at launch, was a little rough, because what would happen is, when you have more players in a zone, especially with quest mobs, they're gonna respawn faster so that people aren't, halted on progress. So I'd kill 2 or 3, but 4 more would spawn behind me, and they'd be like, hey, look, a paladin! And I'd be like, and then I'd come back and we'd be fine. But it was mildly, it only happened a couple of times. So, and it was one time. It's never going to be that busy again, especially now, a couple of weeks out. Leveling's fine. I've seen people that go through, don't have to worry about mob density, don't have to worry about spawn rates. It's okay. But I want to take some time to talk about, as we talk about leveling, might as well talk about the zones. The art team did a phenomenal job. From the pastoral afterlife of Bastion, to the grim practicality and brutality of Maldraxxus, to the forests of Ardenweald and the cramped, gothic, narrow feel of Revendreth. Even though if you look at the map of Revendreth, there's so much, but when you're in an area, it's got this almost Victorian thing. Now, I'm an American, anything vaguely English, people might be like, oh, obviously it's Victorian, because, that's your touch point. Well, you know what? I could have said Elizabethan, okay? And I don't take kindly to that, internet commenters. Anyways, on to the dungeons. Let's talk about the dungeons. Oh boy, let's talk about the dungeons. First off, I love the fact that dungeons mechanics matter again. Right? The last boss in each dungeon seems like it's a mini raid boss, or it's raid inspired. So I'm thinking about Davos and Margrave Stradama, most importantly. So Davos has you avoid the puddles, then dodge the black pools that come at you while being pushed back with wind. You have to while doing that, you have to collect the blue orb to go to a spear to manually target Davos and throw the spear. You can't just click and press. You have to actually manually target with it. It is a wonderful fight. It's challenging, it's tough, it was a learning experience, and I loved it. And then, of course, the trash in the dungeons seem to follow the same design that Battle for Azeroth was going for. Basically, this pack of ads over here is bad, and this pack of ads over here is bad, and if we mix them together, we get 2 bad tastes that taste terrible together. So don't mix them together. But once gear and skill levels come up, you can elect to make it harder on yourself and pull both packs. Basically, World of Warcraft was like, these go together like Skittles and fish. And some people are like, well, how about a filet o halibut skittle? And then you're like, oh, okay, I need to get through the mount. I need to get through the thing. And you eat it and you go. My favorite dungeon so far, though, is the Hall of Atonement or Sanguine Depths. I like the aesthetic of the Sanguine Depths. I think the mobs are fun. The second boss on Mythic is especially fun. It's a very challenging fight. And the Halls of Atonement are just enjoyable overall. I like the Halls of Atonement. The last boss is kind of meh, but to get there, worth it. On to the expansion features. Now, this might be a long one, so make sure to grab a drink. I've got a little cream soda right here. That's good. First, we have the Covenants, the Kyrian, Necrolords, the Night Fae, and the Venthyr. Now, prior to launch, there was a lot of controversy over the Covenant abilities. You know, are they balanced? Are they going to work? What are they going to do? Are they going to be homogenized? Some of them parsed very well, were very big DPS or throughput cooldowns. DPS increase or throughput increases for said class. And with each class and each spec having a unique Covenant ability, they did get nerfed. And they got nerfed quite a lot. And that's fine. They basically lowered the ceiling and raised the floor. They made it easier for those who play optimally and those who just play for whatever. And that's fine. You know, if you cater to the hardcore, you're going to lose a lot of your base. And MMOs can't survive on purely hardcore mechanics. Remember, Wildstar. I will remember you. It's one of my favorite MMOs ever. On a personal note, though, I do love Divine Toll from the Kyrian as a paladin. I can literally glimmer a whole party like that, and it's great. Speaking of healing, earlier today, I healed terribly on my paladin. I was off today, and I hate when I have off days. I usually don't have them, but today was great, and I had a pug that was so kind to point that out. Thank you, pug. You're a shaman. I don't remember what your actual name is, but I appreciate you taking the time to feel superior to me. Also, as a fact, remember that shamans can purge, so maybe next time, purge debuffs so I don't have to spam heal. Just a thought. On to the Soulbinds. Now, the Soulbinds are still in kind of unknown territory because while it's true there are theory crafting sites, how many players actually use Icy Veins, Wowhead, and class discords? I'd venture not a majority of the player base. And since Renown is gated off each week, Renown is the process of unlocking your Covenant, liking you more and more, and giving you things, we are going to have some time before we see how the Soulbinds actually play out. Now, for me, I know as a Holy Paladin, I believe up until 30, Renown 34, Pelagos is the best, and then I switch to Clea. But however, Forge Light Mechanicos has a really cool ability where you get to summon a big Goliath thing and it fights, and that's cool, but I don't get that. It kind of sucks. I wish I could have that. As a complement to the Soulbinds, we have conduits. Now, I love how conduits are done right now, because originally I got a conduit. Oh, it's my best conduit. It's the thing I need. It's the thing that makes me the best. And I socket it in. Hey, Nim, do you want to come tank this? Yeah, sure. Let me swap out my conduits. And originally, they would be destroyed. So until I hit a certain level of renown, I couldn't effectively multi-spec. Or dual spec, or whatever spec you want to call it. Essentially dual spec. They'd be destroyed. Now that change, luckily, was reverted. And it was a good thing that was reverted. The other thing I want to mention is that let's say I have a 158 level conduit. Okay, if I find a 171 level, it'll automatically override it, and every time I go to swap it in, it'll be the 171 until I get something higher. So you can always step up, you can't step down, and that's a good thing. That way you don't have to worry about accidentally overriding something nice, and then you create a bunch of tickets. And World of Warcraft is trying to make it less painful for the players in some aspects and more painful in others. And speaking of more painful in others, let's get on to legendaries. Now, that's always been kind of a pain in WoW's side. Do we drop him off the final boss? If so, what do you need the legendary item for? You killed the final boss. Do I create long quest chains to acquire them? If so, how do I make it not a boring or grindy time-gated collect fest? And if it's available via quest, is it reasonable for me to expect that all players go through it, get their appropriate legendary, and I should balance content around it? Or not? These are all design choices that are out of the player's hands. I'm just remarking on what could happen. Now in Shadowlands, we have a little different thing. So in Legion, you could get legendaries from any world, any content, potentially. In this, you can actually target your specific memory. Now memories are powers that are essentially legendary effects, you need the memory, base item that it can go into, a rune vessel, 2 missives, and some soul ash, a crafting resource that's gated every week. The memories are not a random drop, but they drop from specific content, which can be researched. Unfortunately, some of it's on a rotation. So luckily they did say that they were going to make the stuff that's on rotation a near 100% drop rate, so that's good. So I may have to run my next Torghast thing next week, and hopefully that works. I personally held off on crafting my first legendary, though, until at least the release of the Mythic Raid, because I do suspect a tuning pass. Blizzard is very good at, okay, we got a solution, we got a workable thing, we're going to get through this, and Nerf Bat. And once Nerf Bat happens, well, that's Nerf Bat. You guys all know Nerf Bat, right? On to Torghast. Now, Torghast, Tower of the Damned. From what I've read on the WoW forums, Twitter, and players I know, Torghast is a polarizing place. Now, I personally enjoy it, but I'm a paladin. I have self-heals and plate armor. I'm a little sturdier than a mage, a priest, a warlock. And right now, we're kind of in the Wild West of the expansion, at least in this feature, because we have the least amount of control over the powers that are on offer. Now, Venari does sell some things to assert a factor of control over the anima powers, but it'll take time to get. And Torghast is not optional content, because a lot of the class's memories come from there, and you need soul ash, which is acquired from clearing Torghast in order to craft legendary items. Now, again, I personally enjoy Torghast, but I can understand why someone might find it distasteful. Also, before you tell me, hey, Nim, what if you just run it on level 1 every week? What if you do that and it's not hard? It's like, okay, I think that intentionally doing easier content as an answer to lack of balance is not a good solution. But that might just be me. Who knows? You can let me know in the comments below. So those are my thoughts on Shadowlands. One full reset in. What do you think? Let me know. I miss anything glaring? And of course, I do stream on Twitch, as I mentioned earlier. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe to the video, do all those things, and I will see you in the next video. Please take care, be kind to each other, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!